Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. It's cold again here. So I've got the heater on here in the office as I've been working this morning. Has everybody had a good morning so far? I have. I got up and I was working on the Tales of Rabavania script. I was really hoping to get done with what I'm considering chapter 1. And I got really close, but I'm not quite there yet. Still just one part of it that I've got to, there's a guy's got to walk in and say something. I haven't got that figured out yet, but I'm very close. I'm going to make another pass through that. And I hope that chapter 1 of the script, what would be chapter 1, except for this is a movie script, will be done soon. I can keep going. So that was going well. And then, of course, yesterday I had a great time with my family for my brother's birthday. So I hope everybody had a great time yesterday as well. So, hey, Zero Theory. Good morning, Zero Theory. And Tomocrat is here. Thor Casey is here. Good morning, Thor. Good to see you. Wonderful. Welcome to the morning grind. Toadstool Hollow is also here. Oh, Thor says, I love this video intro. Thank you. I'm glad you do. I had a lot of fun making it. Okay, so yesterday we were looking at the Dungeon Builder's Guidebook for AD&D, and I was about to start that again because I need some stuff on dungeon generation. but it really wasn't grabbing me. Yesterday, I don't know, it really wasn't grabbing me all that great. And so it may not really, that particular book may not be exactly what I'm looking for as far as dungeon building goes. Now, I did look up, who was it yesterday that recommended the cyclic dungeon building to me? And I did download that and was glancing at it. I think we need to take a look at that on the morning grind here one day soon, because that does look like it's got some very interesting theory for how to randomly build a the structure out of a more reasonable dungeon. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. So that's coming. But today I wanted something after working. It's kind of like a chill day. It's like it's cold in here. And so I was like, hey, I want to look at something that's kind of light and just might be fun. So the D&D 5e hardcore mode was on the list. So I thought we would take a look at that today. Does everybody have your favorite beverage ready? I've got mine right here. Whatever beverage it is this morning, coffee, anything else, can be a shot of something. Hey, sometimes it's late at night where you are. Your time zone might be different. So let's take 2 deep breaths and then deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage with me this morning. And then we will dive into 5e hardcore mode. Hey, Zero the Blade. Good morning, Zero the Blade's here. And Carl Make Stuff. All right, people coming in. Good morning, Carl. All right, let's breathe. And sip. Excellent, excellent. Coffee, Mike says it's a coffee and a Hershey bar mixed in. Oh. Well, if it's working for you, Mike, sounds fun. All right. So let's go over here and bring up hardcore mode. And I don't think this is a very long... Zero Theory agrees. Coffee does pair well with chocolate. This is not a very long document. So probably won't take all that long to get through it. Maybe this is just a one-day thing. We will see. But, one of the reasons that I was interested in this is because when I was trying to writing for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows and doing that doing that Journey to the Tree of Sorrows, which was the Cthulhu Mythos stuff that I wrote. Oh, and by the way, I did get in touch with David. David runs Infinite Black now. So David's got Infinite Black, and I've been seeing that he posted on Instagram some pictures that he's been doing. Of course, he's a cosmic horror artist for the new book, Nocturnus, I believe it is, the RPG Nocturnus. And I did ask him yesterday, I texted him and asked him if any of the material that I had written for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows was going to be coming out with Nocturnus, which they've been teasing over there on the Infinite Black site is going to be their next RPG release. And he said, no, that Nocturnus was all new stuff. So it is not not anything of the books that I had written for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. So I guess that that material stays in limbo over there. So, oh well. But nonetheless, when I was writing that, I kind of thought that, well, we're doing 5e here. Is that really right for the Cthulhu Mythos style game? Because I think you can probably pretty easily argue no. But it was David's world, and so he had said, that's the system that he wanted to use because a lot of people know that system, which is a tremendous advantage. So I wrote it for that system. But at the same time, I did come up with a list of things that I thought might make D&D better. Some things you might want to change for the kind of feel for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows that we're trying to go for. I didn't know about this at the time. In fact, it might have been before this. I don't remember. This says it was published in 2000. But in a sense, I guess I like the word hardcore. I might have used the word hardcore to describe the kinds of changes I was making too. But so when I saw this, I was like, well, maybe this is the kind of stuff that I should have used or would have used. I actually did think about. I figured it was Hershey bar, but the first time I saw that, I thought it was a heresy bar as well. But hey, a heresy bar, that's certainly something we could have around here on the morning grind as well. That would also fit in really well. So, hey, hello, D20 Play. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you here on the morning grind. Great to have you. So, and actually, I've been thinking about, as I've been working in the evenings on something else, on tons of projects going on, I was thinking about some stuff that I think would probably make, or a gameplay style that was a bit more hardcore. So there might be great stuff in here. Let's find out. So, introduction. The hardcore way, and well, we have a one-page overview as well. Okay, cool. Heroes. Looks like, okay, 3d6 down the line, hit dice, skilled and uninjured, you're dead, Zimmer's candle. Spells, not slots. The enemy, the real change, monster AI. Oh, I'm interested in that too. The environmental monster hordes, a GM style, verisimilitude, fixed challenged prestige, solving movement, agreed alignment, the darkness, grim dark, stakes, adventure, jar of flies. So 2 adventures. Conclusion, character sheet, GM reference sheet. So that, I don't suppose there's anything like as far as on the back goes. That might be the reference sheet right there. Oh, a new character sheet? Okay, and conclusion. Okay, so we're going to go up to introduction and see what this is all about. Tomocrat says, I have a copy and I'm really curious about your thoughts on the candle. Okay. Sup, my friends. Hey, Tough Years. Good morning. Good to see you. Welcome to the grind. So, introduction, it says, it's inevitable. Once an edition of a popular RPG reaches a certain stage, the rules hackers and homebrewers like you begin creeping out from their subterranean hidey holes. It's not just the game, it's your game. As the progress unfolds, groups and tables diversify. Some blaze forward into innovation, others recapture classic elements, and they're all right. In a game's maturity, the chase of character evolution has limits. After a few cycles, players are looking closer, thinking deeper, and asking for more substance. Challenge has become a word often heard at the table, and the GM feels a pressure that isn't easy to satisfy. It's time, then, to cook with fire. It's time to go hardcore mode. So the hardcore way, 5th edition is by design, built for a wide audience. In hardcore mode, you'll be building and running encounters for a far narrower, more committed player set. As a hardcore GM, you will live by the code. Be fair, but merciless. The numbers will be harsh, the rolls volatile. Get the dice out in the open. Be the guardian of their absolute authority, even when they are cruel. Be a friend of death. Killing characters is not your specialty, but when death does come, be decisive. Have follow-up plans and prep. Be ready for death to be part of play, not an ending. Prize intensity over detail. Go fast, go big, and let little details remain unspoken. Focus on the sharp, sinister, the immediate. Leave minutia to scholars and historians. So, introduction. Here is your one-page cheat sheet to elements in hardcore mode. So, has anybody played with this? Is anybody playing with hardcore mode? Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a long read. So that also not very dense as far as the text goes. So that's good. 3d6 attributes. When creating characters, roll 3d6 for each attribute in sequence with no rerolls. Pure hit dice. Roll class hit dice once, even at level 1 with no modifiers. Hit dice also represent some other stat systems. Also replace some other stat systems. See page 6. I've seen that in a couple of things I was looking at recently. That like not adding a modifier to your hit die and roll it and see what it was. And let it fall where it may. Simple skills. Feat skills and other abilities are compressed into an on-off bonus system. You're either skilled or you're not. Injured. A binary state applied to heroes. Simplify the effects of lingering pain. Death. No more easy mode. 1 death save. Instant death at negative 10 HP. And narrative continuance when death occurs. Zimmer's Candle. A portable save point that players can use for limited recovery. Oh, so this is the candle we're talking about? So a save point. Well, we'll see. Is a heresy bar what it's called when you keep your liquor under the pulpit? Well, now you may want to open a place called the Heresy Bar. Tomocrat, I messed with it, but no games yet. Tough Year says, I got a Doctor Who and the Delics for 5e on pre-order. Looking forward to getting from Cubicle 7 in the next few months. Brandon asks, hello, Brandon. Good to see you. Are you planning to review Shadow Dark at some point? That's on Kickstarter, right? And in fact, that's Shadow Dark Kickstarter. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. Old school gaming. Have I already backed this? I have not backed it yet. I need to back it. Let me see. Actually, probably we should figure out what I should back it at right now. $55 is the complete digital edition complete, or the core, or the premium. Is it going to be worth getting a getting the physical book of it? Probably is. Okay, well, I'll figure out which pledge level to do later. Yeah, I'm interested in it. I think I'm meant to have already pledged by now. I'm interested to know what's going on with it. No one's like, I don't have any kind of copy of it. I don't have any way to review it right now, unless there's like, I'll check out the Kickstarter later. There might be like preview rules or something like that on there, but nobody's reached out to me or anything like that as far as a review goes. If they're sending out like review copies or something like that, I don't know, but I'm certainly interested in it. I'll back it. I'll back it. And then when I get it, we'll definitely take a look at it. Zero Theory says, I thought giving only 1 HP plus con bonus after level 1 as HP would be a good way to make the game more hardcore. Now, see, adding the con bonus, if you have one, would at least be a way to make sure that you get off of level 1, off of 1 hit point. I mean, if you don't have a con bonus, then maybe you're stuck on 1 hit point. But it would at least get that. D20 Play says, it looks like Shadow Dark copied many of these ideas. Oh, Brandon says that the quick start rules are available for free on drive-thru. Okay, well, thank you for letting me know. Well, maybe we should look at that soon then. Let me put this over here. I've got this list of my topics for the morning grind are exploding over here. So this is Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark quick start. Okay. Well, great. If I can get some quick start rules, then I should definitely take a look at that. Maybe next week. Maybe we'll do that one day next week, since the Kickstarter is going on. Actually, how many more days have we got? Oh, it's running for 10 days. So yeah, maybe next week then. Maybe next week we do that. Hit die without con modifier. D20 Play says, except at level 1. Good that. So there is a preview set. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I was looking at that. I was actually looking at Knave the other night. We need to look at Knave on the grind as well. And it was actually just giving you a bonus of you roll 3d6, but you just pick the lowest die, and that's your bonus. Good morning, James. Yep, it's almost gone to 1 million. That's pretty freaking incredible. Okay, so spells by level. No more slots. Unlock by character level or use freeform acquisition, page 11. Roll to cast. Keep all your spell details, but use int or wisdom to cast effectively. Level 10. Characters can only progress to level 10. XP Classic. Classes progress and evolve very different speeds, counterbalancing their access to higher power. The Upper Hand. Compressed mechanics, modifiers, and situation elements with more potent version of the advantage system. A more potent version of the advantage system. Okay, cool. Modded monsters. Keep your 5e monster books and use easy methods to make them nasty and simple as they should be. A GM style. There will be player prestige in defeating your challenges. Here's how. Zones. Forget about how many feet something is from something else. Moving and designing in zones gives your encounters definition and clarity even without the terrain table. I'm a big fan of zones. I'm probably going to like a lot of this. I mean, a lot of this sounds pretty good to me. I'm a big fan of zones. I've been thinking about that a lot in the evenings as far as especially kind of narrative combat and gaming goes. I'm trying to come up with ways to do what I want to do in gaming without having to like count squares with the miniatures. That's fine if you're trying to play some kind of war. If you're trying to play a war game or you're trying to do something extremely tactical. But I think that you can. I was thinking that maybe there's probably some way to capture a lot of the tactical elements that I want in more of a conversational, thematic style or theatrical style, using more like zones. Because I mean that's how we used to play. We didn't call it that, but we just described things like that. Theme. The final section dips a toe into the grimdark sea and offers 2 adventures to start your hardcore journey. Hey, Bruno. Good morning. Good morning. Yay, my first time catching you on a stream. Well, it's great to have you here. Welcome. It is great to see you. Welcome to the grind. Zero Theory says, I'm moving towards zones as well, especially after seeing how well it worked in Mork Borg. The Last Phoenix says, would you review something if it was not in book PDF form media, but presented as an automatic character builder with explanations? I don't see why not. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't have to be in a book or PDF form, I guess. No particular reason. Just seems like most things are. Hey, Nico. Okay, so heroes, 3d6 down the line. When creating your PC for hardcore mode, it is imperative to employ the honor system. No fudging, no going back, no crumpling up the sheet and calling it a mining accident. You're locked in. For each attribute, roll 3d6 once. Record that score. Proceed thus, in sequence, rolling 6 times. These are the scores you keep until that character is killed in play. At first, it may seem brutal or too weak, but in time you'll see this age-old method gives rise to more interesting, emergent stories of play. Stories in play. And hey, like I said, I'm also for quick character generation, and I've been working on some like the web app stuff. And man, you can, if you automate a bunch of that, you can create characters fast. Now I know there are already online character buildings and things like this, but if you're not having to make a whole bunch of choices, like how many, in fact, that's an interesting thing to think about. How many choices, what's the least number of choices that you could make for a character and still have an interesting character to play? Like, could you do it with 3? Because I want you to have some choices. I mean, some things you would choose, but instead of trying to think of everything, like I suppose GURPS is kind of like, what's the maximum number of choices you could possibly make for a character? Well, then you're probably creating a GURPS character. But what's the least number of choices? I mean, you could go completely all random and you'd have 0 choices. But is there some kind of optimal number of choices? Role-playing low rolls. Everyone knows what to do with a 16th strength or an 18 dex, but how do you deal with a 6 int or 7 con? Be ye doomed? You are a hero of substance. Stand fast. Here are a few ideas to explain your worst stats. Work with your players and GM. Embracing flaws is a great way to start deeper roleplay. Roll 1d6 or choose below. 1. A grizzled veteran. You have seen it all before, been there, killed that, and barely made it out alive. All the wars and death have taken their toll. What you suffer an injury, though, you balance with cunning. 2. Blight. Recent times have seen a terrible plague. You've survived, but at a cost. Can it be stopped? Oh, I thought this was giving us a reason that we had low values. But I think this is just stuff for your adventure. Accursed. God-forsaken wizards and their greases. Until the spell is lifted, your affliction will continue. Oh, okay. I guess it is. Oh, yeah. So here are a few ideas to explain your worst stats. Okay. Animal kin. By birth or druid meddling, you are part beast. You keep your hood low and your voice down, lest humankind cast you out. Kid. You took the adventurer's road after only 10 winters. Your mind may be that of your adult kin, but yet you are small. Okay. Well, that's cool. So that gives you a reason. I might like to see that expanded on. That might help players with low scores. So if you get something that's under an 8 or something like that, maybe there's some type of table that gives you some kind of idea about why that could be for that particular stat. People are liking combat zones here. Zero Theory or a hero system character. Oh boy, I have never made a hero system character. Character attachment can be emergent. It's what the DCC character funnel relies on. The Last Phoenix says, I'm not really a fan of the let the dice decide your character style. Prefer to finally craft my characters myself, but I can respect it. Well, that's why I was wondering, like, if you did a completely random character, because I'm also I want the player to be able to play what they want to play. So that's why today, unless I were just going back to play AD&D for the specific reason of going back and playing AD&D, its particular method of adjudicating what classes are rare, I wouldn't use today, because that gave you you generated your statistics, and then you had to have certain statistics in order to reach certain class, in order to qualify to be certain classes. But if you're only getting to play once, maybe you're not getting to play all that often. And so if you really, really want to play a ranger, or you do really, really want to play a paladin or something like that, now whether or not paladin should be a level 1 class is a different discussion. But if there's something that you really want to play, and especially if you don't play that often, I want you to be able to play that character or something, or play that kind of character. So that's why I was talking about what's the least number of choices that you could make. It seems like in the context of specifically something like D&D, you're picking your class, you're picking your race, and like if you had to pick one other thing, I guess it would be your weapon. Like if you randomly generated everything else about a character, but you got to pick your race, your class, and like what weapon you use, you got to be 3 things to choose. We got Zero Theory. It's going to be 2 choices can make an interesting character if trying for minimum. Choice 1, class. Choice 2, stat array. Yeah, you could do it that way too. If you weren't going to randomly generate a character, you could have different stat arrays. Or you could do like a point buy system. So especially if your stats are really important. Stats, class, race. I guess that would be a good 3. Desist Dawdling says, I really enjoyed the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay creation where you could choose, roll or choose, and if you took the roll, you got a bonus from it. So you could choose as much as or as little as you wanted. Oh, Victor Hammett says that he played Shadow Dark last weekend and have a couple of games scheduled this week. Really fun and easy to sink into. Interesting to see how hardcore compares. All right, let's go over here. Heroes, hardcore hit dice. In modern games, we've become accustomed to large pools of hit dice and healing resources. In hardcore mode, much of that is stripped away. You will have precious few HP, forcing tactics, gaining you the upper hand, see page 13, or risk a terrible death. Smaller HP numbers also alleviate the bloating math that can occur during the game. In addition to smaller numbers overall, you can use hit dice to simplify healing, recovery, and a sense for size and mass. Remember the hit dice indicated in your 5e core book is still gospel. So simplify healing and a sense for size and mass. Using your HD. At each level, roll your hit dice and add that to your maximum HP. No con modifier applies. No rerolls, no max outcomes. It is possible to have 5 HP at 5th level. When recovering, hardcore mode offers 3 ways to use hit dice. Rest. In short rests, expend hit dice as normal, rolling each to determine HP regained and rest in safety. Medical aid. When non-magical medicine, bandages, or tinctures are used, roll 1 hit die without needing to expend it. Okay, all right. Grit your teeth. In combat or danger, make a con roll against DC 10. If successful, expend 1 hit die, roll and recover that many HP. Fed up with low HP? Perhaps a quest to discover a powerful vitality potion or bracing cure is all in order. Size and mass. Hit dice give a sense of size and average HP and can be used for monster healing. D4, small, halfling, youngster, gnome, kobold, or goblin. D6, small, human, peasant, or wolf, medium, warrior, giant, insect, bear, giant bear, roper. D10s are things like bugbears, umberhulks, demons, and devils. Now, see, okay, so I can see how this is going, that I don't mind hit points. In general, there are other ways you can do it too. I'm not against hit points, but I am against inflationary hit points. So this is kind of inflationary, but it could not be. I want to think more about how Into the Odd does hit points increasing by level. So this is inflationary, but like it says, at level 5, you could still have 5 hit points. Carl makes stuff. I like easy D6 for character generation choices. Pick class, race, and 2 abilities. Doesn't even have attributes. Still generates unique characters. Victor says, what would a hardcore point buy system look like? 10s down the line, pull from one to feed another. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that because, yeah, I mean, if you're rolling, I mean, it does seem like, well, then if you're going to have something that's higher, you got to have something that's lower. I guess it depends on exactly how hardcore you're going to be. Because even in hardcore mode, you could have great stats because if you roll them right. Skilled and unskilled. In standard 5e, rolls are modified by a number of factors, including attribute, proficiency, skill ranks, and bonuses from equipment or magic. In hardcore mode, this is all compressed into a binary state. You're either skilled at a roll or you're not. Keep your proficiency. Your proficiency bonus is driven by your level. Keep it just as it is. D&D got this one right. This number is your new best friend. On any roll you make that is skilled, roll D20 plus proficiency plus attribute bonus, aiming to meet or beat the target DC or AC. If any roll is unskilled, roll a D20 with no modifiers unless negative. Oh, so you're not even adding your attribute bonus here. So if it's skilled, it's proficiency plus attribute bonus. If it's not, you're just unskilled. Yep, this is scary stuff. If unskilled in acrobatics, for example, you cannot use your dex bonus when leaping a chasm. If unskilled in athletics, you roll raw D20 to bend bars or climb a stone wall. This method also removes ranks and other bonuses. Your rolls are easier to memorize, generally lower, and things you are not good at, you are bad at. That's the hardcore aspect about this method. The gap between skilled and unskilled is wider, forcing you and your teammates to create complementary skill sets or dice skill sets or die when the dice go cold. So it does do that. We've got a wider gap between skilled and unskilled. I think I like that. I think I could like that because one of my problems we talk about all the time. Look at this ridiculous face. This is funny. A pretty hardcore image, but it's like looks like it's based on that meme where you've got the one serious monster and then 2 like goofy ones. So you could scroll by this and think it was a pretty serious image here, but I like that. But anyway, so I've been critical a lot of the D20 because the D20 is so much random, especially when you are getting just a bonus of +3, +4, +5. I mean, even things like 6 and 7. I mean, you're being overwhelmed. Your skill roll is being overwhelmed, or any type of roll you're making is being overwhelmed by the randomness, your particular skills. So at least here, we're widening the gap between the skilled and unskilled by only allowing the skilled to put in their attribute bonus as well. So it's still random, but it means that the unskilled person is extremely random. It doesn't mean that they're less, well, it does mean they're less likely, but it just means that they're extremely random with what they're doing. They're not more likely to not do it, I guess. Injured. In a hardcore mode of 5e, hit points don't just come and go. Deep cuts, ripping bites, and aching sprains impair your core ability to function. Some systems introduce a table or roll chart for injuries, but hardcore mode makes it simpler. Like skilled, it proposes a binary injured state. Become injured anytime you are hit with 10 or more damage in a single attack or effect. If you only got 5 hit points, I guess that's not happening. Become injured anytime you are hit with 10 or more damage in a single attack or effect. Once you are injured, you cannot use grit your teeth to recover hit points. No roll you make benefits from attribute bonuses, proficiency only. Your dex bonus, if any, no longer adds to your armor class. The Last Phoenix says Pathfinder 2 has the same system. If you are trained, you add your level to skill checks. Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that now. Your level is added to skills. When modding characters or enemy and equipment, consider adding an inflicts injury ability that can tag onto any attack regardless of its damage. You are no longer injured once any of the following occurs. You receive 10 or more points of healing magic from a spell, item, or potion. You receive 10 or more points of healing from medical means. You take a long rest in safety and recover to full HP. Heroes, death. If it's going to be hardcore, death needs to be close, sudden, decisive, and terrible for the foolhardy. Cry a black tear, sing the dwarven dirge, and sit out the current encounter. You're toast. You're dead if you are reduced to -10 HP. You are unconscious and bleeding out for 3 rounds of play. You fail a save against death. Bleeding out. When reduced to 0 hit points and knocked senseless, you begin to bleed out. Only the medical or magical aid of a teammate or external effect can revive you by healing 1 hit point, 1 more HP. The concept of down but stable is simply not part of hardcore mode. So you're never going to stabilize. So that's when reduced to 0 hit points and knocked senseless. And knocked senseless? Or does that just mean, like, I don't know what that is. When reduced to 0 hit points, you begin to bleed out. And so you will die in 3 rounds. No rolling. We go on. Death should never be a downer or session-ending event. Rather, it's a twist on the story of epic grief, oath-taking, and new purpose. As GM, we have an idea of how players can introduce characters or turn the story into a darker dimension. As a player, keep a spare PC around and make yours a death worth remembering. So here is Zimmer's candle. Heroes. Death should be a constant companion to players in hardcore mode. Without a way to learn from death, is it not useful as a storytelling tool? What can be done? A cache of resurrection scrolls? Trivially easy necromancy? Not exactly. The great wizard of Westburg, Zimmer the Old, grants a gift to heroes early in their adventures, a single flickering candle. This magic candle flame has the power to capture an instant in time and space and keep it burning bright. The heroes can then return to that instant within limits. Heroes can materialize at a designated moment in time and space where they place Zimmer's candle if the candle is still lit, the candle is in a safe place, at least one hero must be able to call upon the candle to activate it. Using this powerful relic with care, players will be able to make strategic efforts to counter their doomed fortunes. This save point also reinforces the fixed nature of challenges in hardcore mode. The real question is how to keep a candle burning in the rough and tumble life of adventurers. So if you're trying to do some kind of save before you go in to try to kill the dragon, for instance, in the other room, it's saying that you would leave the candle in the room before you in the room before the dragon. You would leave the candle in the room before the dragon, right? AKA the bonfire. Save point. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I guess I would try it out. We use these in video games. So everybody's got one. You've got a number of candles equal to the number of players you've got. I mean, there's going to be a lot of randomness to this game. So I guess if you go in and all of your rolls are just terrible and you just completely blow it because of your rolls, there needs to be one player to shout out like the magic spell to the candle. But it's not automatic because the candle can burn out. So it doesn't say how long the candle burns. But I guess that's maybe it does down here. Nope. The candle can only burn so long. And if somebody comes by and extinguishes your candle, you're out of luck. It could be cool. It could be cool. I've never done anything like that before. Because you don't really know if somebody's extinguished the candle. And you call upon it. That would be, you call upon the candle and you find out that I am going to do these things because it's going to be a high risk thing. But hey, the candle's burning in the other room. Only to find out that you called upon it and the candle was actually not burning anymore. Who has tried that? How did that work? Well, I was just about to say that, James. I was like, save points don't sound that hardcore to me. I was about to say that it in some ways, I guess it's helping you, but in other ways, it kind of sounds counter to the hardcore. Victor says that sounds pretty cheap. Desist Dawdling says, my DM used this in our Strahd campaign, but we only had one candle for the whole party. James says, can I pinch the candle flame and repack the candle for the next encounter? Yeah, well, see, I guess my understanding was that yes, that you probably could do that. That if you do defeat the dragon or whatever, then you can come back and get your candle and save it. So you need to know how long your candle was burning. But as James says, I mean, only one round of combat is only 6 seconds. Oh, it's just one use? Oh. Okay. So Desist Dawdling says, when we used it was just one use. The Last Phoenix says, wait, does the candle teleport or just calls new characters in case the old one dies? No, I think it teleports you through time and space, right? It teleports your characters. The heroes can then return to that. The heroes can then return to that instant within limits. So I think it teleports you through time and space back to when you were lighting the candle. So Desist Dawdling says, so it's like, don't use it until you really need it. I mean, it's an interesting magic item. Yeah, reverses time. So if you're killed, I believe the point is to kill the PCs dozens of times. That's the hardcore part. Victor says it's the anti-rage quit candle. Yes, it's the meta anti-rage quit candle. Heroes, spells, not slots. We've all scratched our heads a few times about using and unlocking spell slots. In hardcore mode, all of this is stripped away. When choosing new spells at level up time, gain access to 3 new spells of your current level. These are cast at their native level. This makes leveling up far more expansive for a magic user and removes all the math cruft from using slots in the heat of battle. Use cantrips as normal. Will we still wait for wizards to choose their next cast? Yes, we will. That could be. I would try definitely playing this as a wizard. It's not. I know some people are going to go, no, it's not too hard to remember and things like that. But with a wizard character, when somebody's playing one for the first time, there's several different levels of having a spell that you got to work with. Knave was also eliminating the difference between a spell level and a character level. Radical option, roll to cast. For every uncertain action in the game, the dice must be consulted. How magic, the most volatile and uncertain force of them all, eluded this requirement is a mystery. Mystery no more. In hardcore mode, magic users must roll to cast. They have to do that in Ataltis as well. Frequency limits on spells still apply, and they are only expended when successfully cast. This role also introduces the potential of critical success or failure and advantage-disadvantage on casting spells. For the hardcore mode GM, these are powerful tools. When attempting to cast a spell of first level or higher, roll with Int or Wisdom and meet or beat DC 10 to succeed, unless there are other factors which have increased the local cast DC. Critical successes do not expend the spell's use limits and inflict double effect. Critical spells fizzle, do not expend the spell, and induce a roll on the volatile magic table. So this is the volatile magic table. It's a D12. Expend the spell, drop to 1 HP, and cast a randomly selected spell in a random location in the encounter. Be twisted by formless energy. One of your limbs is that of a crab, insect, or tentacled thing. 3. Rift. A tear opens in space-time, sucking unsecure objects or creatures into deep space over 4 rounds' time. So D20 says the roll to cast rules were great fun in the Shadow Dark games we played this weekend and last. Neutromancer says rolling twice for spells with attack rolls seems like it would suck. Do you oh yeah, because this is saying you roll to cast, and then do you hit? So you could you could cast but not hit. But hey, you can in 5e you auto cast, but you could still not hit, and that's expended. So you could cast it successfully, but you could still miss. And yes, playing a wizard, it does suck to miss with the spell. It would suck even worse to roll twice. Victor says, roll to cast DC in Dungeon Crawl Classics and Shadow Dark are much more fun and realistic, in my opinion. Never like Fire and Forget casting. I liked the rolling in DCC that we read. I haven't played it. In Shadow Dark, it says it does simplify it to just one roll. David says, all these rules seem to suck. 50% spell failure, basically. You live and die by pure dice rolls in this. It does seem like you're adding a lot of randomness to this. So, I mean, you're right. So this is roll with intelligence or wisdom. But remember, in this, you're rolling 3d6 straight down. So your intelligence or wisdom is not going to be more than a +1 or a +2. I mean, likely, right? You could roll really high and get better. But you're right, the DC 10, now, of course, that's actually 55. So if you've got a +1 or 2, a 45 rather, because 11 would be 50% chance, right? If you had to roll 11 or higher, but 10 or higher would be a 55% chance of success. So let's say that you're going to have like a 60 or 65% chance of success. So basically, yeah, we got like a 45% chance that your spell is not going to cast. And there's a 5% chance that your spell is going to do something worse. This is spell failure. A critical spell failure is something that you seem like should be around. Oh my God, you're dealing with magic. But in order to have spell failure, you really got to have good magic in order to risk it, right? So now you do get a critical success. Now, I mean, I agree with that, and possibly failure too, because hey, warriors do get critical hit when they hit with a sword. Why doesn't the wizard finally get to critical hit something when I roll a 20 with that spell? Why don't I finally get to do that? So I do like that, but we're adding a bunch of stuff that can happen bad to you, because this is going to happen 5% of the time. If you roll a 1, one of these things is going to happen to you. So that's a lot of negative. I think you're right, David. With the candle, you only have one candle. It's for a fixed amount of time. Neutromancer says, was the DC the one with random spell effects? There was one game I saw you didn't know exactly what your spell would do. You don't know in DCC, you didn't know exactly what the spell was going to do, but it just became more powerful with the higher the roll. It became better. Zero Theory says, I'd be okay with adding character level to the magic roll as well. More experienced casters equals less of a chance to fail. Well, that would probably help a little bit. I mean, that would help a little bit. Neutromancer says, classic spell failure did expend your slots, though. Yeah, okay, so this is not, if you just fail, your slot isn't expended, right? Critical success does not expend it. Frequency. Oh yeah, it says here. Yeah, I thought so. This is your spell slot was not expended, but you still didn't go off when you were trying to get it off. DCC, John says, balances the risk of failure by allowing you to continue casting spells after successes. This just gives you failure. So DCC balances the risk of failure by allowing you to continue casting spells after successes. This just gives you failure. Yeah, but it's wasting a turn. Yeah, your turn did not do what you wanted it to do. Raise crit in 3.5. Yeah. Victor says, no difference than missing on an attack. Fighters don't roll twice. Oh, you can crit with ray spells in 5e? Neutromancer says, I dislike critical fumbles on ones. It always feels like punishing fighters with more experience and more attacks. Yeah. That's one of the issues. That if you fumble on a 1, I mean, that's a lot. 5% is a lot. What I was going to with like the magic stuff is that having some kind of extreme magic catastrophic failure sounds fun. I mean, when you're writing out the rules or putting together the table, I mean, look at all this crazy stuff that can happen to you if you fail casting the spell. But then when you think about how many rolls am I going to be making on this table, like how many, like you got to look at that by the game system you're playing. How many rolls am I making on this table? How many spells am I actually going to have that's going to fail? And then when they fail, what happens? I think somebody broke that down. And then you can also think about that from the world perspective as well. How many spells are actually supposed to be being cast in this world per day, which is, of course, world specific. But how many spells are being cast? That means a large chunk of these things are going to be failing. So would people even cast them? A large chunk of these spells are failing, and that means all this weird stuff is actually happening quite frequently in this world. It's kind of like the same thing, that if something really bad happens to you on a 1, you want it so that more skilled fighters or more skilled people in general critically fail less often. Neutromancer says, but I love the joke fumble tables where your sword starts singing and you tell it to shut up and it sulks for the rest of the game. Carl Makes Stuff says, I think it's reasonable that shaping is the very fabric of the universe has a higher failure rate than swinging a weapon. As long as, I mean, I think on the whole that could be fine, but the thing that you got to balance that, or one of the things you could balance that with or need to, is that when the spell works, it's got to be worth it. You got to be sure that the benefit, the risk is worth the reward, right? I always play halflings when my DM says there's going to be critical fumbles. Tomocrat says, yes, unless if all combat is 1-to-1, it's okay, but when the fighter gets 1-to-5, it does get worse. Okay, let's keep going. Heroes, spells, so many questions. Such a drastic change to slots can lead to a lot of new questions. Yeah, we're going through a bunch of them right here. 5e has an abundance of caster types, all with varying means of acquiring, casting, and regenerating spell use. The abundance of books in 5e only compounds this. No written rule set can prepare you as GM or player for every question. The binary demands of hardcore mode ask you to flatten this variety into a more unified solution for casters of all kinds. A few possible solutions are provided below, page 11, if page 11 seems too brief. So casters, druids, and paladins, innate casters, use of holy or natural magic have flexible access to their spells, choosing from their entire spell list each day. They bypass any sense of learning as their magic is external or beyond the conceptual means. Each day, memorize your level +2 of any spells at or below your level. Victor says not all crit fumbles are catastrophic. I like the idea that Prof. DM the Professor Dungeon Master compares magic to handling plutonium. Yeah, low reward, high risk would be weird. Yeah, people wouldn't do it. Bard, sorcerer, warlocks, and wizards, and scholars of arcane art use their minds to comprehend and access magic. They must choose to learn certain spells. They study each morning to have access to a subset thereof. At each level, learn 3 more spells of that level. Each day, memorize your level ×2 from the list. So we still have memorization. You got to know the spell, and then you got to memorize it. Most important, keep your GM mind open and work with the players to find simple, exciting solutions for magic. Gameplay example. GM, the sun rises at last and the ruins come into view. Elos, I leveled up last night. Okay, how do spells work again? You're level 3 now. Choose 3 new level 3 spells to learn. Now you've got 9 learned spells and you can memorize any 6 of them each morning. Oh my God, it's Fireball, yes. So that's a level 3 spell. It always casts at level 3. It always casts at level 3. Okay. That's not spell roll. GM says, correct. Imagine using a level 3 slot permanently. 8d6 fire damage. Ella says, I see. So it will always be just 8d6. No increasing that with higher slot. GM, correct. What you lose in amplification, you gain in access and simplicity. Cord, guys, I'm still here. GM says, did you level up too? Cord says, nope, I'm still neck deep in level 5. That is exactly why we need to conclude this wizard discussion and get after those bugbears. 3 beasts suddenly appear and attack. Okay. Level 10. Hardcore mode caps all characters at level 10. Beyond that, they can only progress through equipment, knowledge, and acquiring magic via quests, discovery, and story paths. This keeps math clean, imposes a natural conclusion to a campaign, and avoids the kind of immortal oddity that we've all struggled with in long-running games. And most of the time, I think, I mean, I know people on here talk about being able to play really high-level games, but to me, for most of the games, most all of the games I've ever played, having just going from 1 to 10 would be fine. Good morning, Draco. Neutromancer says, it's weird that they keep wanting to turn Sorcerer into an old-school magic user when the only reason it was invented was to use spells known and slots before they changed the wizard to match. Was there Sorcerer? And yeah. Okay. Classic HP. The framers of our hobby had a brilliant insights into the pace of level progression, especially in its diversity. The modern RPG has a unified leveling pace across many characters and types, but hardcore mode employs the former method. Wizards grow slowly, but access tremendous power. Fighters learn fast, but are limited by the materials, durability, and availability of weapons and armor. Thieves learn fast, but die often, and so on. The following table proposes such diversity, but the GM should feel invited to create, tune, and research a level scale that works for your group. So, when do you hit level 2? Fighter at 250 points. 250, Bard 200, Barbarian 2. I mean, what do we think about this? Everybody leveling up at the same rate has seemed to become rather standard. But then because the balance has become so much based on, okay, what are you doing right now? Everybody right now needs to be roughly of the same power level, or very, very, very close to the same power level, according to some philosophies. Pathfinder 2 takes this to the extreme that even if you're not there, you should also level up. Even if your character was not there for the adventure, if you didn't make it the adventure, you still need to keep everybody at the same character level. So Wizard doesn't go up to level 2 until 400. It takes a Wizard 68,000 hit points to get, or experience points to get to level 10. Whereas it only takes the Fighter 30k experience points. So the Fighter will be a level 10 fighter faster, but then you stop. You've made it. The Wizards can take a lot longer. The Cleric takes a pretty good while. Zero Theory, I agree, personally. Now, I have not played that many really high-level adventures. The most fun and memorable always seem to be the low-level adventures. Neutromancer says, 3.5 Sorcerer was an exact copy of a Wizard, but the slots worked like in 3.5. No, in 5. So 3.5 Sorcerer was an exact copy of a Wizard, but the slots worked like in 5e. The Last Phoenix says, this feels old school, but unnecessary, in my opinion. I would want to take a look. Halfling class levels up the fastest. I would want to take a look at. I can be okay with this. I am, but I really want to look at how, like, so what does that mean our powers are at every level? There would be a lot to look at for me to really understand what's going on here. I'm potentially okay with this, but I would need to be able to look at the class features in a more simplified way. David says, I don't see how anyone balances encounters for this, but maybe that's the point. Yeah, encounter building, like Pathfinder breaks that down, the encounter building to the tables and the math directly. Zero Theory says, I'd embrace it. It brings back the idea of rewarding 50 XP here and there to individual players for good ideas and good role-playing. Vladimir says, it's okay, but in Pathfinder, there's a system to determine the difficulty of the enemies that would be broken by this system. This system is great. This system is great. I would like to play a PC game, but not as a paper one. It just means that, like, we're still, if everybody's leveling up, it just means that this person, oh no, Thief and Rogue. Okay, so that's actually the fastest. You're going to hit maximum power the soonest. And the fighter is going to be close behind you. And then there's going to be a wait. Oh, no, Bard. No, look, Bard down here. Bard is 25K. So Bard, if everybody's playing along, is going to hit his maximum power fastest. But, is a thief, is a 10th level thief. It just depends on what you mean by balance and what you want it to do. Is a 10th level thief your most powerful thief or rogue that you can be? How powerful is that when compared to the most powerful wizard you can be? If you just phrase it like that, I would say, well, the most powerful wizard you can be is dramatically more powerful than the most powerful rogue you can be. So this would model that, I guess. Well, if you're looking at the most powerful rogue and you're looking at the most powerful wizard, who's more powerful? The most powerful wizard. It's more of a modern kind of thing to say the most powerful wizard and the most powerful rogue need to be equivalent in power. Do they? No. Maybe they don't. I'll have to think a lot more about this and returning to that. I'd want to know more about, like I said, balancing all of that out. But when you phrase it that way, that makes sense. I'm going to play the rogue. How powerful can I get up to this level? How can I, which is not as powerful as the wizard, but you're going to get there a lot faster than the wizard is. Victor says, in real terms, your wizard will probably never get past level 7. No real motivation for other characters to adventure so the wizard can level. Yeah, I'm thinking that they're going to have to, that there will be other characters coming into the game. I thought you were going to say the wizard may never get past level 7 because he's going to die. OD&D had XP for finding money, which made these level up much faster. The rogue is going to be 2 levels ahead of the wizard at level 8. So David says, so the rogue should have a higher level cap. So that would be another thing that you could do. You could say that instead of saying everybody's at level 10, you are trying to get everybody to some number of experience points, maybe 80,000 or something like that. But by the time you get 80,000 experience points, you're going to have different levels. Well, now maybe that's one of the solutions. I like that. So David says the rogue should have a higher level cap. So what if you said a character retires, instead of saying that a character retires after a certain number of levels, they retire after a certain number of experience points. In order to max out, we could say something like 100,000 experience points, whatever it ends up being. But you could say you're going to accumulate 100,000 experience points in your adventuring career with this character. For a rogue or a thief, that would mean that you're going to be getting a lot more levels. But for a wizard, you're going to be getting not as many levels. Could that potentially fix it? I suppose then it depends on what was in there, but you could say, well, sure, if one of them is going to get to level 10 by 100,000 XP, and another one's going to get to level 20 by 100,000 XP, that one level is just worth twice for one character. One character gets 2 levels for every one that one gets. And does it make more sense then to just say, okay, it's a wash, don't worry about that, let's just go by a standardized leveling system? I don't know. I'll have to think more about that. Try to be a powerful wizard after the rogue steals your socks. It's a wave. Wizard starts weaker, but they end up more powerful. It's a different theory of balance. So different classes peak at different points. Who would win? 10 most powerful wizards versus 24 most powerful rogues. Yeah, so or basically 2 to 1. Does it take 2 of the most powerful rogues to take out the most powerful, or to make it an even fight? Is 2 of the most powerful rogues equivalent to, but does that even make sense? Is 2 rogues equal to 1 wizard? They're different. They do different things. That's kind of like to GURPS when you're trying to compare characters by point totals. They're optimized for different things. So are they really equal? Well, in some really abstract sense, because they both got 100 character points or 150 character points. But on the other hand, they're completely specialized in different things. Hey, Extra J. The same goes for Cleric, Druid, and Ranger. Put Bard in but Bard in D&D is OP if you play meta. Vladimir says, but this system is great to play different level characters. It'd be much more of a Lord of the Rings Fellowship vibe than standard D&D play. Carl says, it worked well with gold pieces, GP for experience, because there's always a motivation to get more gold, so long as you create ways for players to spend it. Well, that's what this was saying up here, right? It said that, why would you continue to go past level 10? It says that because you need to acquire magic items, you progress through equipment, knowledge, acquiring magic items via quests and things like that. So your fighter maybe is capped out at level 10, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's got the Vorpal sword of whatever and the best plate armor, some kind of magic plate armor and stuff like that. So why would the fighter want to keep going on another quest? Well, because he's still looking for some kind of magic item to help him out, or enough gold to go and buy the suit of armor that he's always wanted or something like that. So that is where that comes in. Trey said, oh, hey, Trey. Good to see you, Trey. I think it's interesting the Bard levels faster than the Rogue. So we would know. So this is using the 5e rules. So we kind of know what they're doing when they hit each level. Although we're not, not. No, we do know what they're doing. Every level. The spells have changed. But since this is 5e, we should be able to know. I'm not going to look it up, but we should know what each one of these powers are. If an average rogue catches him unprepared, the most powerful wizard isn't going to do well. That comes to do with that they're optimized in different ways. Because you could, how are you really supposed to answer that question? Zero Theory says variable level parties allows you to bring back many of the old school house rules and quirks that have been forgotten now. Vladimir says about gold, it's true. If I remember, you could even buy horses, minions, helpers, and some of the old ones so the fighters spend his money on gear. Yeah. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. Looks like this will end up being, this has been another great discussion. These are my favorite shows. These are my favorite morning grind shows when we have this kind of discussion. So let's just take it. So, okay, let's finish looking at heroes, and then we'll go to the enemy. We'll go to the enemy tomorrow. So it says heroes, the take. As all players eyeball their XP thresholds, fiendishly calculating how many Saturday nights it will take to reach level 7, the game master may be wondering, when do I hand out XP? Right after a kill in the tavern via Raven? The hardcore way takes one simple approach. Players can only gain earned XP when they gain a full rest in total safety. In our group, we call that the take. After a few sessions, the table will realize how crucial this can be, but it also creates more exciting jumps in character progression. So you get your XP when you take a full night's rest in total safety. So you're not going to be, so at least we're not returning to training. Like, in order to level up, you also have to go and pay gold and train yourself. So we're not doing that. But you're not just leveling up all of a sudden in the middle of a fight. But you don't have to go home to the tavern either. So, but it said, well, it does say in total safety. So I guess that's a call. But so afterwards, I guess after you've cleaned out the dungeon, maybe if you're camping, then you're in total safety because you've taken care of all the bad guys. Maybe somebody does say that, no, there's still random encounters out there. What does it really mean to be in total safety? Multiclassing. If your GM allows multiclassing in your game, hardcore mode has you covered. At first, the first most essential rule is simple. A character can only ever gain a total of 10 levels in a maximum of 3 classes. This gives players a lot to consider. Sure, you could farm level up HP by grabbing 3 cheap fighter levels, but then you're stuck with only 7 levels in Wizard. Making it story. As your group embraces the take and tight limits on multiclassing, there's a final piece to master, finding, harvesting, and spotlighting the reasons that leveling up occurs, the reasons that multiclassing occurs, and the outcome of these events on character's theme and story arc. An encounter with the divine might lead to levels of the cleric. A failed vendetta could turn a disciplined fighter into a frustrated barbarian. A tragic loss of an ally could turn a ranger into a merciless rogue, and so on. As a hardcore GM, you can lead characters through narratives that explain ever-growing power. Your encounter with the Storm God has given you a deeper understanding of divine magic. Surviving the crushing blows of the giant has given you the mastery of shield combat. After lifting the jewel from the prince, you see an entirely new way of going unnoticed. Returning from the dead has revealed necromantic secrets. Okay, so the upper hand. Let's take a look at this. David says, honestly, don't have a problem with the ideas here. A lot of them are from D&D 2nd E, but I think 5E is a bad base for them. Neutromancer agrees. I agree a bit. A lot of 5E has been balanced in a certain way, and a lot of changes like these would probably break stuff. But 5E already has many balance issues. You know, the more and more we've been looking at different things on the morning grind, and also actually some of these older school style games, the less I'd probably play 5E anyway, as it turns out. The Last Phoenix says, what? I don't get healed to full health with angelic chorus in the background if I level up mid-combat? No, I think that would be not hardcore. That would be not hardcore mode. Tomocrat says, I think in hardcore, the magic spells level at 1-to-1 now versus 3-to-1. Right, yes. So you are getting more magic spells. Because at level 2, you can cast a level 2 spell. After a long dungeon. Oh, well, Victor says, after a long dungeon, that could mean a multi-level jump. Well, you know, can you gain more than 1 level at a time? Didn't that used to be handled that, well, hey, even if you got enough experience points to gain 2 levels, you still had to only gain 1. You had to keep the XP, but kind of in reserve. You didn't actually receive it yet, right? I used to have players do this for extra XP. Any instance of a reward, roll D100. The players add the total to each game session. Every player gets a total bonus. It rewards good play. Oh, so any instance of reward, roll D100. The players add the total for each game session. Oh, Brandon says, just want to say thanks to your Hero Quest rules video. Well, you're welcome. Definitely made playing much more enjoyable. I am so glad. I'm glad you used them. Still love that game. Neutromancer says, I think it still makes more sense to make the levels equivalent by making lesser classes stronger rather than making it require less XP. Just add more stuff. Compress 20 levels into 10 for the rogue. Zero Theory says, this could be a way to show 5e players a taste of the old school system without entirely embracing another system. Yeah, I like skill leveling by failing rolls. Zero Theory says, I'm surprised by how well this is made, but also not surprised because it's made by Runehammer. Yes, so I got this on drive-thru. Okay, so the upper hand. This is our last topic for the day. The upper hand. Part of playing hardcore is playing fast. This means roles are easier to memorize and conditions easier for GM to moderate or mechanize. Much of the game table is spent with players working to gain the upper hand on a situation. This involves the use of cover, distance, henchman, or surprise. Hardcore mode compresses all of these variables into the established advantage and disadvantage system in 5e. Roles are never modified, nor penalties imposed, nor bonuses earned by gaining the upper hand. A character or group of characters simply earns advantage or disadvantage. The GM can also announce you have the upper hand to the entire table. All players are now rolling with advantage. Conversely, the enemy has ambushed you. You are caught flat-footed. The table is rolling disadvantaged now, and so on. Like so many elements of hardcore mode, this step makes binary a wide system of narrative possibilities, even eschewing variable DCs. Apply the upper hand method and follow the guidelines for the DCs. As a general rule, the DCs of any check is D10. Calling roll dex should imply meet or beat a 10 with the dex roll. Escalate the ambient DC as needed. That strikes me like the GURPS system from the GURPS action book, which is called BAD, B-A-D, which is the basic adversity difficulty, basic adversary difficulty or something like that. Your basic bad. Like how bad are things? That's just something that is stat like a fixed amount across a level or something like that. So, yeah, you could say here we are in an easy dungeon or whatever. So your DC for everything is just 8. And then it goes up to 10 and then 12 and then 14 or something like that. Maybe escalate the ambient DC of the area. So we're not modifying or penalties imposed. We're not, one thing I do want to look at, and I think Mark was talking about this, Mark Tassin on his design blogs over on the design vlogs rather on the Mechanical Muse YouTube channel. He was talking about like what would happen if you always rolled 3d20, and in the absence of anything, if you were trying to get rid of some of the just random nature of this, I'd have to I would try to break this down to the math too. Like, what if you always rolled 3d6? And if you didn't have advantage or disadvantage, you always took the middle total. And if you have advantage, you take the highest. If you take the disadvantage, you take the lowest. But your standard is roll 3 dice, 3d20, and then take the middle one. Now, I know one thing that's going to do is that's going to reduce the probability that you're going to be able to hit things just based on luck. So sometimes you've got like a high DC. Let's talk about fighting. You've got a high DC, high armor class you're trying to hit. Sometimes the only way that you hit it, if you're rolling 1d20, is just because of basically luck. You're just trying to roll high enough in order to hit it. So if you're always taking the middle, then you're not going to be hitting, you're not going to be able to rely on luck to just hit something. But if you've kind of standardized the ambient DC to things around 8, 10, 12, 14, you could do like 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 in a particular area. That could work. I'm kind of interested in breaking down the math on that and seeing what type of system that would end up with. This kind of seems to imply that to me. Seems like it would be an easy modification to the modification. Let's go over to the comments and see what's going on. So sleeping, getting a level when you sleep. James says, in hardcore mode, I would like to see some spells botching. Maybe the first 5 times you cast a spell, you're more likely to botch with catastrophic results since you're unfamiliar with casting. But if you know, like, you could have some type of boxes by your spell that, but if you just have to cast it, wouldn't the player go and cast those outside of combat? Would you have to enforce it that, hey, you have to actually be casting this in a dangerous environment? Runehammer has had a lot of direct influence with Kelsey in designing Shadow Dark. He even contributed art for the book. Hey, Don. Good to see you. Welcome to the Morning Grind. Don says, I'm a big fan of this book. Hardcore Rules is a great feature. I especially like the candle save point as an option as a reset button when players die. I'm also enjoying the line art in this book. Okay, well, this seems neat. I got to think about it more. So we'll take a look at the enemy I guess tomorrow. I've been in a thing where I think it's probably best just to continue through a book once we've started it. So we will be taking a look at the enemy, real challenge rating, monster AI, environmental monsters, and hordes, and things like that, starting tomorrow. I have enjoyed it. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I will. It would be nice to be able to paint tonight. I haven't got my painting set up on the bar in the living room area, but I still have a bunch of paint sitting around here, so I don't know. I've got a lot of work to do, but I would like to get back on the Sunday night Crafter's Corner, maybe paint some of the Advanced Hero Quest. I put them up, but that would be the next box that I want to paint. But all right, well, thank you so much for hanging out with me, everybody. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope this has made your morning a little bit better. I hope that you have a very productive and creative day for the rest of the day. And until later, grind on.